Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink. It is time for Path of Exile 1 discussion. Today is day 20 of teaser season for the Mirage League, and it is the last day for 328 teaser season as well. Today we're going to be discussing a few things, none of which are particularly massive. So this will be a much shorter video than days 17 was in particular. That one kind of went for a long time. Granny Gear Games made this post, Mirage Launches Soon. They also made an important update about temporary minions. There's a few changes in the patch notes. And on top of that, there's a couple of community tool updates that I wanted to mention, and also an important little bit of research that clarifies an unclear line in the patch notes about the feared drops. Let's start with the Mirage Launches Soon page. This is something Granny Gear Games post every single league, and I don't think they explain very well who this is for. Firstly, if you play on console, this page isn't very important to you. Secondly, if you update the game client through Steam, the Epic Store, or macOS, this page is not very important to you. But if you play on PC and you update without using one of those game stores as an intermediary, this is an alternate way that you can update the game files. Now, if you have at least a medium level of technical expertise, you don't need to be an IT professional for this, but you do need the ability to sort of navigate around Windows and use all sorts of files and the like, then you can download the Mirage torrent file. I would recommend this if and only if your internet connection speed is single-figure gigabytes per hour. In that situation, you might find that this is the fastest way, only if you see this video pretty soon after it goes up. So download the Mirage torrent file. This will be the single biggest file that exists in Path of Exile. This will be the content.ggpk file. You'll then need to overwrite your existing content.ggpk file, and from then on, do not log into the game. If you log into the game, you'll undo all of the work you did, because a massive update process will go underway in order to revert the changes that you made, because Granny Gear Games will expect you to have the current content.ggpk file. If that all sounds like technical rubbish to you, then just completely ignore this. You don't need to download this torrent. The one thing though that is important for everyone here is that this is not something that can be data mined anymore. So in the past, websites like poe.ninja have been able to data mine all of the details of the game patch. Not necessarily everything. Granny Gear Games are good at keeping some individual things secret, but they've changed things a few patches back so that not very much can be data mined at all here. That means that the big time where we'll find out anything that's going to be data mineable will be 3 hours before league start. And that is going to be when people will start getting the new patch and start pouring through that. That's the point at which we'll find out things like what the new divination cards offer, like what all the new skill gems are, and depending on what they do, Granny Gear Games normally obscure unique items until they're found in game, but because they have revealed a couple of the unique items, we might find out roll ranges on them, and Granny Gear Games might or might not make it possible to discover the details of the exceptional support gems. In the past, exceptional support gems would have been something you could data mine, but because they're a major new feature, they might decide to make it so that you can't find out their stats until they're found in game. We'll find that information out later. Anyway, that's everything you need out of this Mirage Launches Soon page. It might look like technical rubbish to a lot of people. If it looks like technical rubbish to you, you can pretty safely ignore this, except for this information. When the servers go live and when the realms go down, and soon after the realms go down, that's when you want to start patching. Next, Granny Gear Games put out a little bit of a clarification on the day one patch they're planning. Now, let's just be clear. They're not promising that this will be a day one patch. They are planning, they're trying to make it a day one patch. And this is that there's going to be a bit of an issue with Mirage League, and that is that when you go into one of the Mirage zones, you're going to lose temporary buffs on your character, shrines, headhunters, and at the same time, you will also find all of your temporary minions will be unsummoned. Now, fixing the temporary minions aspect of this is apparently easier than fixing the buff side. So what their plans are is that there'll be an early patch, and I'm saying day one seems to be when they're going for, but they're not promising that it'll be day one, but it looks like they're trying to get an early patch out to address this. Keep this in mind when you're planning your build selection, and also keep in mind, just a quick reminder of an earlier video that I did, your Atlas selection and your build selection should really work hand in hand. These should be things that influence each other. So keep that in mind when you're deciding what you want to play this league. Also, anything along these lines fixing temporary buffs, that's going to take a lot longer for them to fix. And so keep that in mind again if you're thinking of aspiring towards, say, a headhunter this league. Next, let's talk about an update to one of my favorite community tools. This is the website poe.ninja. there is a new section up here called Atlas Trees. When you click on it, you'll be able to have a look at past leagues. So why don't we actually have a look at something a little different here? I'm a Trade League player myself, but let's have a look at the solo self-found keepers atlases people were playing. And here you can have a look at what's termed beacons, and you can filter according to any of the keystones that really transform your atlas towards one of the 3 influence types. So let's have a look at what solo self-found players who were following the Maven, i.e. had destructive play on their atlas, what they were doing. And then you can see, almost all of them, Shaper and Elder. Lots of them Conquerors, lots of them Map Tiers, lots of them Synthesis, and then there's a whole bunch of other things, Shrines, Map Monsters, which I think is Map Modifier Effect as well, Scarab Generation, Kirak Missions, and then there's a few things that are less common. Not many people speccing Rogue Exiles, Ultimatum, Beyond, Abyss, Legion, Vile Side Areas, or Torment in conjunction with a Maven Atlas. Now, this will allow you to drill down in lots of different ways, but rather than me going through all of those, let me put a link down in the description below to Rasmus, his video on it. Rasmus is the person who is the brains behind poe.ninja, and there's a whole lot of information there. After that, let's jump over to the patch note changes. Here we have a number of small changes. The first one is for standard enjoyers. This I think will be quite welcome as a change for standard enjoyers if I'm reading it right. If your account has previously acquired any void stones, then completing any node on the atlas will complete every node of the same tier and lower. So this should make it much quicker and easier in order to catch up your atlas progress on standard. What I think this means is that if you complete a Nightmare map, if you complete a Shaper Guardian map, anything along those lines, as long as you've earned a void stone before, then your standard atlas should just rebuild itself. Next, we have a couple of divination card updates. So a lot of divination cards kind of ended up being bricked by this patch. In some cases, the person that commissioned the divination card has reached out to Grinding Games quickly enough for that change to be made inside patch 3.28. The rest of them, they're just going to be turned off until probably 3.29. The Messenger divination card, this one has been updated. It now awards a Harbinger unique. I believe this is the one that awarded a fragment previously. The Journey divination card though, this one has had a really big change. This is now going to award a Journey tattoo. These things are unfathomably rare. I have had more mirrors worth of mirror shards coming out of Kingsmart shipping than I have Journey tattoos. I think I've had something like 2.3 mirrors worth of mirror shards from Kingsmarch, and I've had exactly 1 of these Journey tattoos. They are crazy rare. Well, now they're going to be a little bit more accessible because even though I'm expecting this divination card to be very rare, in a trade league, there's just a lot of any very rare divination card. All it takes is people opening 1 million stacked decks, and suddenly even the very rarest divination cards in the game, unless they're tagged as boss exclusive drops, you end up with something like 20 of them getting spawned. And when I say 1 million, I really do mean 1 million. There are a lot of stacked decks that exist in Trade League. Desecrated Virtue divination card, this one drops from all the Crystal King, or at least historically did. It used to drop a level 6, 23 quality Awaken gem. It is now going to drop a level 4, 23 quality Exceptional Support gem. This one is definitely going to be rare as well. Updated patch notes. The Guardian Sentinel of Radiance minion no longer has a duration. It is now a permanent minion. It has been upgraded. So if you're playing with those holy skills that we were talking about here, this is another improvement for the Guardian's Sentinel of Radiance. It has approximately 36% more movement speed. So this is a buff. It also persists between areas, and in order to not annoy you when you're in your hideout, it will not use its version of Righteous Fire there. The Landing Divination card has been temporarily put to sleep, and existing cards cannot be turned in currently. The Side Quest Divination card has been updated and will now reward an Incarnation Echo, and the Divination cards, the Bargain, the Obscured, and the Puzzle, these ones are being temporarily put to sleep until their creators get in contact with Grinding Games and they'll be able to be changed. The Cheetah Divination card, which was one of the other ones for an Exceptional Support gem, this one is also being turned off. Finally, there was a line of text, fixed a bug where the Cyrus, Awakener of Worlds, and the Incarnation of Dread were dropping their uniques more often than intended when in a feared encounter. And I wasn't exactly sure what this was going to mean when I was doing my live stream, and that's because I did the feared exactly once this league. Well, the answer is, the feared was dropping these bosses' uniques as though you had exactly 200% quantity on your feared map, whether you had it or not. In fact, you can't get 200% quantity on it anyway. So what that meant was that you were absolutely always getting a Cyrus unique, you were absolutely always getting an Incarnation of Dread unique, and then 1/3 of the time, scaled up by the amount of quantity that you had on your feared invitation, then you would get a Shaper unique, a Cortex unique, an Elder unique. And if you're interested in the full details of that, QualiaH over on Reddit, I'll put a link down, their post down in the description below. They did an extensive write-up where they did a very large number of feared runs this league, and they've got that information for you there. So that's the full details, but the short version is that this is not going to result in increases of the number of the other uniques that you got. Instead, it is just simply something that was clearly a bug, where I was awarding these more often than it had in the past, but they were not coming at the expense of other uniques. Anyways, that's it. Thank you for everyone that's followed along during teaser season. My plans once the new league starts are that I will continue putting out news videos, both based on player discoveries that take place and also Grinding Games has announced changes, whatever they are, whether they're big sweeping changes as we've had a couple of times, or whether they're little changes as we've also had a couple of times. And on top of that, I'll also put out snapshots of the meta at various points. What sort of builds have been really popular early on. And something I did very, very early in Path of Exile 2 that was well received was a very early snapshot of the meta. So I might end up doing that as well. I might do a day 1 or day 2 look at the meta, then a day 12 or so look at the Trade League meta, and also at some point a solo self-found look. And if hardcore is particularly interesting, like if there's a lot of people playing at this time, then I'll potentially have a look at that as well. So there'll be a lot of things coming out over the next little while. As always, if you want to instruct YouTube to give you approximately a 200% more multiplier to how often my videos show up in your feed, then you can hit subscribe. If you don't want to do that, then that's cool too. May your Varlorbs have interesting results.